The Holocaust, 1941 to 1945. The deliberate annihilation of 6 million Jews. The Holocaust, perhaps of the most ridiculously stunning occasion in mankind's set of experiences, was an efficient mission of slaughter organized by the Nazi system during the Second Great War. The Holocaust brought about the elimination of roughly 6 million Jews, alongside the abuse and enduring of millions of others. This point-by-point paper plans to give a far-reaching assessment of the Holocaust, enveloping its verifiable setting, the elements that prompted its event, the unfurling occasions, the worldwide reaction, and the persevering through tradition of this terrible section in mankind's set of experiences. Ascent of the Nazi Party. Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party came to control in Germany in 1933. The Nazis advanced an outrageous type of patriotism, racial immaculateness, and against Semitism. Once in power, they started carrying out prejudicial and exclusionary approaches against Jews and other minority gatherings. Hostile to Semitic customs, hostile to Semitism, the bias and scorn against Jews had profound verifiable roots in Europe. It had been a repetitive component in European history for quite a long time, prompting occasional episodes of savagery and mistreatment against Jewish people group. The Second Great War. The flare-up of the Second Great War in 1939 gave the background to the acceleration of the Holocaust. The conflict not just given a cover to the Nazis to carry out their arrangements, yet in addition made tumult and precariousness that made it challenging for the global local area to successfully answer. The Holocaust was the consequence of an intricate exchange of philosophical, political, and social elements. Nazi belief system. Fundamental to the Holocaust was the Nazi philosophy, which advanced the confidence in Aryan racial prevalence and the need over wipe out apparent racial foes, especially Jews. The Nazis accepted that Jews represented a danger to the Aryan race. Dehumanization. The dehumanization of Jews was a key part of the Holocaust. The Nazis depicted Jews as subhuman, frequently utilizing misleading publicity to spread these debasing pictures. Dehumanization made it simpler for culprits to complete demonstrations of brutality and remorselessness. Nuremberg Regulations. The Nuremberg Regulations, passed in 1935, laid out a lawful system for the exclusion and mistreatment of Jews in Nazi Germany. These regulations stripped Jews of their citizenship and restricted marriage and sexual relations among Jews and non-Jews. Abuse and segregation. The Nazis deliberately executed a progression of unfair measures against Jews, remembering limitations for work, schooling, and property possession. Jewish organizations were seized, and Jews were exposed to viciousness and terrorizing. Willful extermination program. Before the full-scale execution of the Holocaust, the Nazis did a program of killing pointed toward taking out people with incapacities. This program filled in as a forerunner to the mass killings that would later happen. The Holocaust unfurled in stages, set apart by raising degrees of viciousness and ruthlessness. The last arrangement, the choice to start the last arrangement to the Jewish inquiry, codenamed Activity Reinhard, was made at the Wannsee meeting in January 1942. This plan included the precise homicide of the Jewish populace. Mass shootings and inhumane imprisonments. In the beginning phases of the Holocaust, mass shootings were completed in Eastern Europe, bringing about the passings of a huge number of Jews. As the killings raised, inhumane imprisonments were laid out to work with the methodical homicide of bigger quantities of casualties. Concentration camps, like Auschwitz, Sobibor, and Treblinka, were laid out for the sole motivation behind mass homicide. These camps were furnished with gas chambers, where casualties were deliberately annihilated utilizing poison gas, essentially Zyklon B. Constrained work in clinical tests. While numerous Jews were killed promptly upon landing in death camps, others were exposed to constrained work, clinical trials, and different types of mercilessness and languishing. Lack of concern and quiet. During the Holocaust, the enduring of Jews and other designated bunches was met with lack of concern by numerous nations. The world's emphasis was essentially on the continuous conflict, and the genuine degree of the monstrosities was frequently not completely grasped. Evian Meeting. The Evian Meeting in 1938, met to address the predicament of Jewish outcasts, created not many substantial outcomes. Most nations were reluctant to acknowledge Jewish exiles, leaving them with restricted choices for escape from Nazi mistreatment. Restricted salvage endeavors. a few people and associations put forth attempts to safeguard Jews from Nazi-involved domains. Raoul Wallenberg, Oskar Schindler, and the endeavors of the Danish opposition are instances of the people who assumed a part in saving Jewish lives. Freedom and Nuremberg preliminaries. As partnered powers freed death camps in 1945, the full extent of the Holocaust became clear. The Nuremberg preliminaries considered Nazi pioneers responsible for their violations, starting significant trends for indicting atrocities and wrongdoings against mankind. Mental injury. Overcomers of the Holocaust and their relatives keep on wrestling with mental injury, known as survivor culpability, which makes enduring impacts on their emotional wellness and prosperity. The injury experienced by survivors and their families has left a getting through inheritance, and numerous survivors have shared their declarations to guarantee that the world will always remember. Uprooted people and the foundation of Israel. In the result of the Second Great War, a large number of dislodged people, including Holocaust survivors, confronted the test of remaking their lives. The revulsions of the Holocaust were a main impetus behind the foundation of the province of Israel in 1948, giving a country to Jewish survivors and evacuees. Memory and celebration. The memory of the Holocaust is a focal part of Jewish personality and has been a subject of worldwide recognition and recognition. Holocaust remembrances, historical centers, and instructive projects are committed to guaranteeing that the memory of the Holocaust is saved for people in the future. Lawful and moral structures. The Holocaust assumed a critical part in molding worldwide regulation and morals. The Nuremberg preliminaries laid out key standards for arraigning atrocities and wrongdoings against humankind, adding to the improvement of the cutting-edge global overall set of laws. Training and basic liberties. The Holocaust has prompted a re-established obligation to basic freedoms and the counteraction of slaughter. Training about the Holocaust is viewed as fundamental in bringing issues to light about the outcomes of prejudice and disdain and advancing an additional fair and compassionate world. The outcomes of disdain. The Holocaust fills in as an obvious sign of the staggering outcomes of scorn, bias, and separation. It outlines the significant damage that can result and a general public endures or advances the dehumanization of any gathering. The significance of taking the stand. Taking the stand concerning the monstrosities of the Holocaust is a basic moral obligation. Survivors and their declarations act as a living demonstration of the repulsions they persevered, and their accounts assist with guaranteeing that the world recollects and gains from an earlier time. The force of strength. The strength of Holocaust survivors is a motivation. Their capacity to modify their lives and offer their accounts is a demonstration of the human soul's ability to beat enormous difficulty. Avoidance and basic freedoms. The Holocaust highlights the significance of forestalling destruction and safeguarding basic freedoms. It has prompted the foundation of lawful and moral structures pointed toward forestalling mass barbarities and guaranteeing responsibility. Contemporary importance. The examples of the Holocaust keep on holding contemporary pertinence, especially despite continuous difficulties connected with bias, prejudice, and viciousness. Fighting enemy of Semitism. Hostile to Semitism stays a tireless issue in many regions of the planet. The memory of the Holocaust helps us to remember the significance of effectively fighting all types of separation and disdain. Destruction counteraction. The Holocaust fills in as an obvious advance notice of the potential for decimation. It highlights the significance of early mediation and the obligation of the global local area to safeguard weak populaces from mass monstrosities. Common freedoms promotion. The Holocaust plays had a critical impact in the worldwide common liberties development, motivating support for the security of basic freedoms, the counteraction of slaughter, and the quest for equity for survivors of monstrosities. The Holocaust, a significantly terrible part in mankind's set of experiences, is a demonstration of the profundities of remorselessness and savagery to which humankind can sink. The Holocaust's causes were well established in the philosophy of contempt and the dehumanization of a particular gathering, and its unfurling occasions were set apart by unfathomable mercilessness and languishing. As we think about the Holocaust, we should recollect the lives lost and the experiencing persevered. It is a chance to reaffirm our obligation to forestalling bigotry, bias, and scorn. The memory of the Holocaust approaches us to be cautious against the powers of murkiness and to pursue an existence where such repulsions are rarely rehashed.